I miss the old Kanye, straight from the gold Kanye, chop up the soul Kanye, straight on the gold Kanye.
Welcome in, team. Thank you for coming all today. I know we're all here to learn about e-com. Thanks, James, again for hosting us. Super stoked. Today, our job is kind of to show you the power of personal branding. I know a lot of you are in the e-com space running paid advertisement. So I'm going to show you why you can harness both, but mainly for the organic side. So me and Reid, we'll get into it about like a bit of our story, but like we just do no paid advertisements, completely organic. And we're going to show you today how to scale up essentially. And what it takes, like we did 100K in 100 days just for organic content. So we're keen to show you kind of how everything runs and yeah, kind of going to run you through a bit about us. I'm Jake. We're both from Australia, Sydney. I'm 21. How old are you? 24. And so my Instagram, this is me on the left, and then this is Reid just here. And we've been posting on social media for around 13 months now. So not too long, but at the end of the day, content's just strategy. So we basically started together, completely strategized, and then we actually met through social media. So the good thing about personal branding is not just income. We both work with great brands. We're here today because of our social media brand. So it does work in different avenues, networking, connection, essentially.
I'll do a little bit of backstory about both of us as well. Like Jake said, we didn't know each other when we first started, which is why we know the power of organic content is amazing. Because obviously ads are quite targeted. We're trying to get a specific outcome, trying to get someone to buy. But organic content, there's a lot more trust building when it comes to it. So I myself was studying a degree in psychology, which I liked, but I knew wasn't going to give me the life I wanted. Like I wanted something with more fun, the ability to travel, and I thought organic content was the way to do that. So I committed to posting video every single day, just like Jake. Again, we lived, I think, 15 minutes from each other, but had no idea who each other were because no one else posted content in our area. And then I found out through a mutual friend that there was one other person that posted organic content. So of course we connected and started our journeys together.
Cool. Now, just a little bit of context, because I think authority is super key here. Last month we did 210K, but that's a 95% profit margin. So with social media, we only have one team member, and we'll get into how our business kind of operates. But essentially, we've generated 10 million views in the last 30 days just between us two. And that's 10 million just like views. That doesn't engage in like interactions, likes, etc. We have 4 accounts, the 2 accounts that you see now, plus 2 bottom funnel pieces accounts, which we'll get into more about as well and how we leverage those to more generate them. And then last month to generate this, it was 63 booked calls and then the close rate around 87% because of our personal branding, the connection. It's so much trustworthy. So I'm not reaching out to any cold advertisement. When you have a personal brand, people just come to you with their credit card ready. So that's the beautiful thing about building a personal brand, because you make it super aware of who you are, what you're about, and what you're trying to achieve. And then it builds the trust and it's ready to go. So we will jump into what we're kind of covering today, how to build that authentic personal brand that converts. I want to make that super key here. We're not influencers. We treat social media for purely business only. I started social media for 2 reasons, network and income. It's the only reason why I do it. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that with AI emerging and with like content creation, it's super important that you leverage your authentic presence online, because no one buys from businesses anymore. They buy from the values of the business owner. So it's extremely important. Now, we developed this system called the Brand Suite system, which is our funnel, which we're going to run through today, exactly how we help our current clients who also do e-com as well. So just showing you like how, as like an e-com people, you can use the same system. And then essentially what a 100K per month team and system looks like through personal branding. Cool. I'll let you go first.
All right. Most people overcomplicate growing a personal brand. And we've been referencing personal branding a lot. And the reason we do so is because organic content is what will grow you a good personal brand. Of course, there's a layer of trust to everything, to every sale. And so having a good personal brand and therefore good organic content is essential, but a lot of people overcomplicate it. And of course, you guys are all testing creatives, testing formats, but like James mentioned in his presentation, the founder story is important. People really want to connect with you as a person. And like Jake just mentioned, you buy from the value of the business owners, not always just the business. So here's the framework that we use to not overcomplicate personal branding or organic content. The first thing is choosing formats. And in your cases, choosing creatives and choosing what you're going to put out, whether that be a founder story, a comparison, or whatever else. So The first thing is to pick a content style or organic style that actually resonates with you. And what you can do, obviously, like James mentions, is take inspiration from other people. The main thing here is to find creators and find other people making organic that truly feel like you align with the message, because otherwise there's going to be a disconnect and you can't build as much trust. The second thing is to establish your identity. I'm sure you're very well aware with building websites and building your creatives, there needs to be an identity behind everything. This is great because it makes it recognizable, not even just for organic content, but for a brand as a whole. You want people coming up to you, at least in our cases, and saying, I recognize you for that font, like that style, that aesthetic. Extremely important. Testing and gathering data. I'm sure you guys know even more about this than we do. Testing and gathering data, so unbelievably important. For us, just like with ads, we don't kill a piece of content instantly if it's not performing. We need to test it over a long period of time to ensure. A lot of people, when they make organic, oftentimes it's a lot more vulnerable, so they'll give up on a format after like 2 or 3 tries because it's not performing well. They feel like people are attacking their personal values because they're not getting views. But it's even more important to push through, in my opinion, for a period of 30 days, so 30 posts if you're posting every day, to make sure that format is dead to you and the audience. Finally, to adjust and improve. Just like anything, you want to look at the data you've collected and use that to determine what content you'll make in the future.
Cool. Just to add on this as well, because I know you guys may be like, how does this kind of relate to e-com in a way? So the one thing about when you establish your identity online, you have to also remember that you're all here today because of James. And so the way that you also, I know that you're running ads and you may not even be the face of the ads, but at the end of the day, if you yourself come on the forefront, like what James has done with his personal brand, it develops that identity. And then if you have a product or something that's kind of tied to that, then people align themselves to that and they want to go, okay, maybe I'm going to purchase this because of like the individual themselves, right? So our message here, what we're trying to provide is that you can run faceless ads, you can run product ads, but at the end of the day, you will sell a product if it's you, okay? If people are bought into you. And so you need to start looking at it from like a difference perspective on like, one, I can test my creatives, but 2, I could also leverage myself personally if I'm willing to like put myself out there for e-com.
And I'll also add, this is why influencers who have personal brands are so powerful for e-commerce businesses. As I said to you, the social proof aspect of it is aligning yourself with people who are in your niche or already produce content for your niche and putting them in front of your product. And the personal branding aspect allows you to be that person and to push yourself, and also this is going to help you guys identify which influencers or which faces and personal brands you want to align and push your product, because that is one of the keys to success.
100%, yeah. You can, after this, you'll be able to really clearly identify like which potential like influencer as well you could reach out to who can market your product. Cool. So I'm going to talk on some formats now, and then essentially what I think is important when it comes to kind of promoting your kind of brand, and what I think stands out, especially from us, like we have sold our own products online as well, and what we see the most like performing. The first one we find is talking heads, okay? So these are super simple. Now these are extreme trust building though. You were saying before that you grew quite a fair amount of your following out of 124,000 followers from a talking video, right? The trust that a talking video builds is immense, but in the online like product space, what you can do is you can advertise your product as well. So when you're speaking, if you're displaying it on the screen or if you're displaying it on yourself personally, 1, you're building that authentic trust because people are buying into you. Number 2 is they're seeing what the product is and they're getting kind of bought into the vision, right? So it definitely increases conversion. These are very simple as well to test because in content creation, it's super simple to just analyze the data, right? So you could create the same talking head video of you sitting down in front of a camera, but you could change small wordings at the start of the video. You could change the text branding. You could change the colors, the fonts. You could change the music. It's way easier to track data, and in like an unpredictable space like organic, when you do simple formats, you can double down on what's worked and then analyze the data from there, okay? Day in the lives are more for those influencer basis, and the reason why we're analyzing it today is if you have, let's say for example, I know you were saying you have a dog product. In that kind of situation, you could include that in an everyday life and show the kind of person who's purchasing what the product is going to get used rather than the value behind the product. Okay, yes, it's a nutritious, healthy product for a dog, but how is that dog gonna actually use it, okay? So you could implement that in a day in the life video, which is like proof of purpose, because you can only create a day in the life if it's actually real. And so it's like a in-time kind of piece of content that people are buying into. And so they're like, okay, wow, I really align myself with this because this is how I live my life as well. I'm not saying you have to do day in the lives of your own personal self, but you can as well. That builds trust because it's showing the proof. It's showing the purpose on what you're trying to achieve, okay? Yeah, you do storytelling.
So storytelling is, I was going to say probably, but most definitely the most important facet of organic content. Storytelling not only goes the most viral, but it tells everyone the most about who you are. If you're looking to build a brand or make content, organic content in any capacity, you have to storytell. And a way to break it down is when a lot of people make organic content, they'll often narrate what they do. Let's just say, for example, they'll do a day in their life or they'll do a talking head video. They'll narrate exactly what they do. So it's like they'll go to the fridge and they'll get an apple out and they'll say, I went to the fridge and I got an apple out. But instead, we want to storytell by saying something that's not exactly what you're doing. So the example here would be, it's like there was nothing left, so I had to take an apple even though I absolutely hated it. This is how to storytell your videos and make sure it's engaging throughout the piece. This can be applied to every bit of content. It's the most important one. All right, quality of follower. Not every follower is the same. And this comes down to the importance of making the right organic content. Oftentimes we can see trends and we can see templates, which for most of you guys are just high energy, music, text on screen, but not much speaking, not much personal connection. The reason we don't want to do a lot of these when we're making organic content is because there's no trust. Of course, in your cases, there's going to be ads and creatives you need to run for virality, especially TikTok related ads. But for Instagram especially, trends and template content doesn't build the trust in people and it's not going to paint the full picture. It's more surface level. So quality of followers come from when you tell your story, which is why it's important to do storytelling content, stuff where you're showing your face and building trust. A personal brand, as we know, is extremely powerful. A lot of you guys probably wouldn't be here unless you actually trusted James as a person. That's why trends and templates aren't the best to connect. If James just ripped trends all the time, music, fast-paced energy, there would be no trust built up and most people wouldn't have the relationship with him to be in this room today. So building that trust is done with speaking on camera and storytelling. We can go next. All right, there are two ways you can craft an organic story. Neither is wrong. I believe it's more of a personal preference of what you like, but I sit in the middle of creating both. After having created over 1,000 pieces of content, I found that there's a good middle ground between the two. The first one being original content. And when I say original content, I mean completely free of outside influence. It's so easy to look at other people's content, look at other people's creatives to see what's performing. And again, it's a really, really good way to adapt things. But sometimes the original piece of content, being the first mover in the space is going to be the most valuable thing you can do. So what I do as an exercise for being creative and making organic content is the very first thing in the morning I do when I wake up. Before I look at my phone, my laptop, I do anything, I get out my journal and I write. I just write my thoughts every single day. I'm not always going to use it as organic content. What I am going to do is use that to call back on when I need a video idea or a concept. The second one is remodeling winning structures. Of course, it's important we all understand ripping a really good ad creative, ripping a really good piece of organic content that we've seen. The reason this is so good is because it's built off proven structures. We can steal the hooks, we can steal the pacing, we can steal the music. If we see it consistently in the algorithm, we see it all the time, we realize, okay, I can take my own self and apply all of those efficient little parts and facets of the video and just put my own personality in it or put my own product into it for most of your cases. I like to mix the two because again, there's a first mover advantage here where no one else has it, and obviously it can come completely from you, so it has endless viral potential. And then remodeling structures is of course a really efficient way to do it. I balance it. I'm not going to say it's completely 50-50 because it changes every week, but I'd suggest trying both if you're looking to make organic content.
Where does someone start when creating completely unique and original organic content?
Yeah. So I'm not going to sit and pretend it's the easiest thing in the world, making completely original content, because there's always a point of outside influence. We're always thinking, how can my hook be better? Or how can this one clip be better? How fast it should be. So for me, it's been quite a challenging exercise, but that's why I do it first thing in the morning, because as soon as I get into my routine of being on my phone, being on my laptop, there's all these other influences outside that I feel like I'm taking into the creative process itself. And I feel like the best organic ideas will come when your mind is as free as possible. Obviously, it might not be the morning time for a lot of you guys, but consistently writing down your ideas is the best way to do it. Like for me, it's either an empty Google Doc or again, my journal. And I'll just write without limitation. So I won't think about a structure, I won't think about a hook. I'll just write my story, my genuine feelings, what I'm going through. I'll write, if it's an ad related thing, I'll write genuinely how I feel about the ad or how I feel I can actually help someone. And then later, if you really want to, you can mold that into a more structured concept. But to be original, you have to drop the restraints in all capacities and just write what you feel. A winning structure. I'll take it back. So a winning structure, and again, in a lot of your guys' cases, these are just winning ads. So for us as organic creators, it's essentially finding another, for example, a My Story reel or a founder story. If I'm going on another page and I see a founder with like 50,000 followers or so, I will look to find an outlier. So I won't just copy any of their reels that might have like a 30,000 view average. I'll go scour their page for the last like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I'll find an outlier. So something that's hit 5x of what their average views are. Because then obviously that's broken the barrier of what is average for their views, so they've done something right. Normally it might be the story, it could be the hook, it could be the music. So something I like to find is commonalities between multiple creators. So I'll look at a creator with 100K followers and I'll go look at what broke his average. Then I'll look at a creator with 30K followers, a creator with 5K followers. And if they've all used similar facets in their same video, I will take those concepts and I'll use it for myself. That is how I'll remodel a winning structure.
Usually
hope that explains it.
The winning structure is really just based down on the first 3 seconds of the video. So to keep it super simple for those that don't create content, just look at the first 3 seconds. And the best way to do this is just go onto the For You page, which is like what you see on Instagram, and you swipe through. And whichever one stops you, ask yourself and be like, why have I just stopped? Why am I consumed by this video compared to someone else? Then just analyze the first 3 seconds and ask yourself, okay, potentially they're inviting me in. They're saying a line, let's say, for example, of, I can eat an apple in 1 bite. It's not that engaging, but if I said, is it possible to eat an apple in 1 bite? That's a winning structure. I'm drawn into the video. I'm now bought into what they're saying, right? So yeah, you can get so caught up with so many different structures, but realistically, at the end of the day, it's just the first 3 seconds of the video that's going to draw you in. That's a winning script. That's what you should look for. Cool. Here we go. Now we can go even more in depth.
This is kind of what I just touched on in the answer to the question, but finding the outliers is the most important thing. Like if I can find a bunch of different videos with a bunch of like the same use, like they use the same hook, they all say, is it possible in the front like side of their video, and it all breaks the average, it's really, really easy for you to be like, okay, I'm just going to steal that exact thing. Because there's nothing inherently special about any of these creatives or organic content or people. It's just the fact that they've used the same hook and it's worked for all of them. So I will go to a list of model creators. And for you guys, it might be the same if you're looking at ads libraries of successful ads, finding what's worked for multiple successful ads and then applying that to your own. Obviously, it's going to be you, your face, your unique product. So it's going to be completely your own. No one's going to be like, you stole that from someone else. Even if you did, probably don't care that much. Finding model creators and model ads, really, really good way to do it. How we actually go through the process of, I'd say, stealing or remodeling a winning structure is just downloading the video. And there's a few, apps you can use. There's one called TurboScribe. So I use that to download the scripts of specific videos so I can break them down and see what parts worked well. So if I see 3 different pieces of organic content all using the Is It Possible hook, I'll download them all, compare them side by side to see the length, what their tone was and everything like that, how long the whole video was in general, and so I can compare back and forth to see what aspects I want to take into my own. Something I want to note is matching the structure very, very similar is the best way to succeed. The more that you change after you steal a winning structure, the more chance it has to do poorly. There's less data that it works, the more we deviate. So when I'm remodeling a winning structure, at the end of the day, it's going to be my face, again, for you guys, your products, so it's going to be mine. But the structure itself, how fast the clips were rolling, the overall vibe of the video, it's going to be the stolen one that's performed really well. If you do all that, you'll match the structure, and with consistency, you can understand what works and doesn't work, so you can make the organic process very, very efficient.
I will also just quickly add, for people who are newer to content, remodeling winning structures is the best place to learn rather than coming up with completely original ideas. If I was starting out, even like if you had no experience producing content or creating ads, you could easily have your first 100 ads as completely remodeled. Then you'll learn that process with consistency and with time. This isn't something that you can just learn like that. It takes time. Then you could use that skill set, use that little bit more confidence that you have, and actually create something that's completely your own and unique to you, that original content.
Yeah. And like James just mentioned, like, and he said before, we're looking into like the ad space now as well to like leverage the next lever to pull. It's exactly what we're doing. We're looking at ads meta library, and we are taking just 4 videos that we have seen perform well that have drawn us in. Then we're just looking at the structure of the video, and we're basically just tailoring it to our ideal client and what they would say, because you're just pulling from another industry or another niche into yours, but it's already performed well. And you can just do that by just looking at the data, seeing if it's performed well before on them. Usually it's not the individual, it's actually not even like the structure of it, it's just you taking that winning script and using it for yourself. Cool.
You can do something. Yeah. This is more of a on the personal branding side of things, but it's also like the mindset around timing and creating content. Most people, when they make organic piece of content, think it takes a long time for their content to succeed and their personal brand to grow. When in reality, let's just say it takes 1,000 posts to hit your goal. That doesn't mean it needs to take 1,000 days. People underestimate the power of volume early. When people make organic content, it sucks at the start, like it has to, before it's good. And so my philosophy, or our philosophy behind creating content, is that quantity will create the quality. So instead of doing 1 post a day for 1,000 days to reach your goal in 1,000 days, if you do 2 a day, you might reach it in 500. 3 a day, 333. You guys get the idea. More volume is going to help you get better, just like ads and testing creatives. The more you test and the more you iterate, the faster you're going to get to your goal. No one's going to remember that really bad piece of organic content that you posted 6 months ago. I have all my original videos all the way down the bottom. Nobody's scrolling to see them. If they did, all they're going to do is see the progression of how I've gone. I'm sure it's similar with ads. Testing creatives, making them better over time will help you with volume. So, yeah.
The more the merrier. Don't be afraid to post more because you're just testing more.
And you've also got access to trial reels now.
Trial reels.
Which if you're conscious or nervous about uploading that and how that affects your potential brand positioning when someone's on your page, you've got trial reels.
Which we're about to jump into actually.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Trial reels. Also, just to note on the last one, no one remembers a reel they watched, like this morning, yesterday, today. So like everyone will forget. If you're worried about a bad piece of content, it means absolutely nothing. Trial reels. Now, this is the most important growth tool that Instagram has ever given us. Unfortunately, just on Instagram right now, but people don't understand the power of trial reels. Just for some backstory, Instagram released these as a way to test content without putting it on your main feed. So it goes out to a completely different space. And that space can't be seen by your followers. So what we do for trial reels, like we've laid out a bunch of rules here, but the idea is to post as many as possible to this separate space for only non-followers to see. Because again, it doesn't block your current page. And if someone ends up following from a trial reel, they can't then see that trial reel because they are now a follower. So over the last 11 months, my content on my page, like around 94,000 followers, I would say like 40 to 50% of them have come from trial reels. So just repetitive content that I've already made in the past, not new content that's just been working in the background every single day.
Yeah. Do you guys all understand what a trial reel is first before we carry on? Just want to make sure that's super clear. So essentially, Instagram will release the feature, just to clarify, that you can, before you go post a reel, and we'll show the settings after, you turn on this setting, and it essentially runs in the background. Your current followers are not able to see it. Your current followers are not able to see it. Only new followers, so people that don't follow you, okay? And so what happens is you test your content because your current followers are already bought into you, right? They're already bought into what you post. So you go and post multiple different times, and we're going to get more into the details of how to post about it. And it's testing on this platform, and it's just going to new followers, right? If it does well, and we're going to tell you how to analyze if it does well, then you know 100% that when you post that video again, so 2 times on your main video, your current followers are just going to interact with it straight away, and it's going to be your best piece of content, right? Because your current followers are already bought into you, And so whatever you go and test on trial reels is going to be about you anyways, and you're just testing it. So when you see that it's performed well on trial reels and you release it to your main page, it's going to do the best, okay? And it just exceeds. Awesome.
Yeah. Just as a note, I know a lot of you guys, like we mentioned earlier, don't post a lot of content or organic content. This is a way for you guys to post content without actually posting content. Because one of the tips we're about to get into is the fact that my trial reels aren't new videos that I'm posting. I'm going in to find an old video, one that's performed well, like a My Story or a Founder Story. I'm changing a few things, like variations, and that's what we're gonna get to, but things that will trick the algorithm into thinking it's a new video. So instead of spending 3 to 4 hours on a completely new organic piece of content, you make one piece, vary it a little bit, and post that 10 times, all 10 variations. So in 1 hour, you can essentially have 10 pieces of content posted without making a new video. And you can re-rinse the same ones every night and make variations. I've made one core video and made about 500 variations to it, and I will continue to do so until Instagram doesn't let me. And it gives me a constant growth engine every night without actually having to post a video. So for you guys who are time pressed or don't want to make new content, you just need to make one piece of content and you can grow. But yes, what I just kind of went into is with these trial reels themselves, what you're going to want to do is, if you don't have a video that's performed really well, unfortunately, you're going to need to make one video to test it out and to get a basis for your trial reels. But how to trick the algorithm itself is everyone's limits are different. So everyone's going to have to change different things. Like I can post a total of 14 a day. I think Jake can post like 7 or something, which is why it's really important that everyone goes in and independently tests what they can do. For my trial reels, I will have a video that's like 18 seconds. It's got 20 clips in it or so. What I'll go in and change is 2 to 3 clips. I'll change the background music. I'll change the saturation and the font size. So things that don't actually affect the video itself, like the voiceover or the hook clip or like the main pacing of the video. It's just these little trivial things just to trick the algorithm into thinking, okay, this is a completely fresh video, so we're going to push it out. And so what I'll do is I'll make 10 variations of that same thing using that same framework, and I'll post them all back to back on trial reels. Another thing that you can do, rule 4, is post varying versions. So if you do make a reel that you really like, you've put a lot of effort into it, it's a great founder story, and you really want to put it out and make sure the views you're getting are the highest possible, what I will do is I'll keep the whole reel the same and I'll test one variable. So I'll change the hook clip 90% of the time, or I'll change the background music, and I'll post 10 variations just with that one change overnight. So I'll wake up, all post it at the same time. I'll compare their views side by side, because now I'll know what hook clip performed the best considering there's no other variables that were changed. And you can take these concepts, these clips, the music, into your creatives, into your ad creatives, into whatever it is you want to use. So it's not just getting you followers and views and leads every night, it's also showing you what your best clips are, your best music is, and your best pacing for your videos.
Yeah, so you want to carry on? You're finishing it.
My golden rule for making trial reels. Everybody gets this wrong. Once you post the trial reel, you will get the option to show it onto your main feed. Does anyone know why we wouldn't do this, just based on anything I've chatted about so far? Like showing it from the trial reel space into the actual grid. It's okay, nobody ever knows every time I say that, probably because trial reels are confusing. But if you show a trial reel across from your trial reel space into your main grid, it will recognize it as a reel, and you won't be able to then post that same reel and it get the same reach. So for every video, every creative for organic content you ever make, you post it as a trial reel first, and then instantly after, you can post it as a main reel, literally with no changes, just for that one time. And so if you post it and then show it, you then won't be able to have it on your main feed, sacrificing half the engagement you can get by posting the exact same video. So if you have a trial reel that's hit 1 million views, and this is so tempting for everybody, like a reel that's done amazing, it's brought you heaps of followers, everyone just wants that shown on their main page. The reason we don't do that is because you can just have another 1 million viewed video on your main page, getting you double the engagement, double the followers. It could even perform better than the original one. This is my golden rule. People break it all the time, even creators with millions of followers. So if you're going to get into trial reels, please remember that one.
Now, a big key here as well is if you are going to get, let's say, for example, higher influencers for your products, a lot of people I find use influencers based off TikTok because TikTok's much easier to provide like a product. But we work with a lot of UGC creators. So essentially the people that you're employing, right? If you have a good UGC video, for example, you said you had an outlier that had 2 million, you could go post that same outlier video 10 times on trial reels, the exact same video. This is how we acquire a lot of our leads. So we basically run on trial reels like lead magnets. So like scripts that are basically ads, so just ad scripts. But you got to remember that a trial reel is going to a new follower and it's based off your algorithm, right? So it's basically like running a free paid advertisement where you're just writing a curated script, and we have like very specific scripts that we write, and they just speak directly to the individual. And then we just, with us, we run a DM funnel, which is like people will DM the certain word to come into our funnel, and we will post that 10 times every single night. So you can use it in 2 different ways. You can use it to test formats of what's going to work well, or you can use it for lead generation, and we use it for both. Okay, this is the last thing that we're going to touch on, and it is the method of show, don't sell. So what we find with a personal brand and with also just content creation in general is as you build up your presence online, and I'm just speaking here if you guys are thinking about creating kind of content, or you're going to manage your current like audience or influencers, for example, for your product, the whole core principle here is you want to show, don't sell. And so we don't really sell too much with our content. We are trying not to be the gurus in the space at all. Essentially what you need to start focusing on, and this is a great piece of like idea for your ads as well, because some ads are going to be shorter, some are going to be static, some are going to be longer. It's the same principle in organic content, right? There's 3 core principles that you need to focus on. Top of funnel, which is reach. This is attention, right? So this is drawing attention to the page. Middle funnel is trust and warming them up. So building that connection with the audience. Bottom funnel is conversion. Speak to the buying of the decision, right? Now, before I go on, just want to make sure. Yeah, okay, cool. So essentially what you need to do here is it's super important. Like when you run ads, you're plugging in exactly the details of the ad, who they're targeting, who the person is, what their age is, what their demographic. Essentially, that's called the ideal customer profile, as you guys would all know, right? The same concept translates to organic content. You need to understand what the person and the ideal client you are targeting. Why? Because you need to think of the emotions that they are feeling on the days of the week. For example, I'm 21. I travel, I work online, and as cliche as that kind of sounds, I understand that my ideal client wants to do the same, right? So on Monday, my audience is feeling a little bit dissatisfied. Maybe they're going into a job that they're not sure of. Maybe they're wanting to create content, or maybe they're wanting to leverage it for their brand, right? So I target that pain and purpose with a top of funnel reel. That draws the attention and the right client to my page, but it's not going to convert. It may generate me 1 million views, but what will convert is middle funnel, authenticity, personality, human connection, right? Now they're in my sales cycle. They're consuming my content. I'll do my selling through my trial reels and through my Instagram stories. So showing the proof of purpose on the stories, showing client testimonials, showing what's happening, to a point where then they decide, you know what, Jake, it's time, I'm ready to buy. And that's bottom funnel. And that's just done with there. And that's the 3 sequence conversion. And that's something that now we're translating that to paid advertisement. So we're going to run longer ads, shorter ads, static ads. It's the same concept, but this time we can just plug and play with the demographic that we want to target. Where in Instagram, it's super hard. So you need to really focus on who the person you're speaking to and the emotions that they're feeling. And so that's essentially how we kind of run our brand suite method, which we came up with. And hope you guys enjoyed. And now we'll answer some questions for you guys, because I'm sure you have questions.
So you've been telling about organic content for about 30 minutes, let's say. One thing that is booming right now in e-commerce is TikTok Shop. Most people are unaware of it because in Cyprus we don't have this. We have in America, in Italy, in the UK, some of the places in the world. But mainly here we target the US market. So as you said about organic content, probably TikTok Shop is basically the same because it's organic, while they have their link down there so they can redirect them to the TikTok Shop and then they can buy. What's your number 1 advice on specifically UGC talking heads or something else about specifically TikTok Shop? Do you have experience with that? If you don't have, it's absolutely fine. I'm just asking your opinion.
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the start, the talking head builds the most trust, right? And so when it comes to conversion content, we find that with our UGC creators that we work with, the talking head, when you're providing the product and the service on the screen and you're showing the visual and you're using like that's really dependent on the script, right? That will not only trust, but draw great conversion. Now, I don't work with TikTok Shop in itself, but I work with a lot of creators on Instagram who are using those talking head formats to convert, to funnel people to either. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are trying to funnel all your attention to, let's say, like a landing page or an app, or let's say TikTok Shop, yes, the best piece that you want to do is you want to find a winning script that works well, and then translate that into talking head, okay? Because then, like I told you at the start, you can really look at the data, and it's very easy to track what is working well and what's not working well. And yeah, you're right, like the TikTok Shop is a good avenue to go down.
Another question I have. As I understood now, 1 year that I'm doing this in e-commerce, the foundation of everything is copyright. How to sell people something with words. Let's say even sales is the same thing. So what's your recommendation about learning copy? How to sell people in specifically in the words that you have to use in order to sell something, even that's your service or James' service or my product or someone else's product here, or anyway, in general, how to sell people's stuff with words. What's your advice based on the organic content you do? Because organic content is way more difficult to go viral than paid ad. On paid ad, I can get 1 million views very easy.
Yeah.
2-3 days because I spend my money. So I buy the leads. How you do it, you focus on the script, you focus on the copy. What's your recommendation? And then I would like to ask your recommendation as well. Because you are two different people, I know your partners, but
Yeah.
you are different people.
Yeah, great question. I find for me, testimonial videos work the best for that. So conversion and leads, we've had great testimonial videos do well, where we basically curate a script for the person to talk about the past, the present, and the future.
So you say to the people what to say.
Yes.
You don't let them cook. Let them
Yes.
say.
Or we use two formats, one where it's like an in-person testimonial, or they cook as well themselves, okay? And it's always the structure of past, where they were, present, where they are, and future, where they want to go. And I always find that converts the best. You are right though, it is hard to provide that bottom funnel piece where you're translating a lot of leads. So what we do there instead is we provide a free resource. So we'll be like, if this is for you, comment the word this and we'll send it to you, right? So for example, trial reels. We'll do a whole video on trial reels. We'll talk about the ins and outs and like the intricacies, what's super important to include. And then we'll say, if you want this script, comment the word trial and I'll send it to you. And that's a free resource. So instead of like generating leads, that's essentially a lead, right? They're asking me for a product and then it gives me the ability to open up to them and be like, yo, just curious, why are you building a personal brand? Or why do you want this, right? That's how I usually use it for conversion and like lead generation without like putting spend behind it.
Okay, but when you are trying to explain to the UGC person or anybody in general,
Yeah.
let's say that you want me to do this, what would you say to me to say?
I would have to write your script for you. I wouldn't be able to, because it's an organic, right? So you can't, I would just write the script for you.
How do you learn to write this?
It's a good question.
That's what he's asking. He's asking how do you learn how to write great sales copy and great sales scripts?
I think it depends on a few
Exactly
things.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
It depends on a couple things. Like, it depends on what your offer is as well. Like, depends on what you're trying to sell, the positioning you have. Because for us, with our personal brands, we don't, like we said, we show, don't sell. So we don't do a lot of sales-like copy. It's more just showing people the lifestyle that we do live. And for our clients, it can be different. That's why we mentioned that it's a spectrum. Like, some people try to sell heaps, some people try to just, show the lifestyle, elicit curiosity so they can be pushed down a funnel. So the best way, independently, for people to understand the psychology of copy is to model off creators and also try completely original content, because what's within, like, your own story is going to connect best with a random person for your brand and for your creative. So it's an extremely iterative process, so it's hard to give like a direct answer on this is the best way. But like writing scripts, a mix of remodeling what works and trying your own scripts and then seeing what gets views and then doubling down on that data is how I personally developed how I write my scripts for copy.
But if I was going to say to you and you're my client, what I would do is I would look at 5 creators in your space. For example, let's just say you're a surfer. I would look at 5 different surfers.
I know that I have the surface here, but I'm not the surface.
Okay, well, anyways, I would like look at 5 of them in the model, and then I would look at the videos for them that you can just clearly identify that they're trying to sell, right? And then I would look at the analytics. Are they outperforming, right? So are they 5x the views? Are they actually performing well? And if so, I would just recreate that script towards what I'm trying to achieve. because you're in the same industry, so it's performed well. You've analyzed the data because it's 5x the amount, so it's an outlier video. You would take that script and then just rewrite it to your little bits of your situation.
So basically you swipe.
Basically, yeah.
You swipe.
Yeah.
Don't do original. You swipe.
Well, for us, we sell the lifestyle, right? So for us personally, we don't need to steal because they're bought into us. They want to work with us. But for you, yes, as like a e-com like person who essentially wants to, his sole purpose is to make income, yeah, you just steal. There's no need to create the original product because the winning videos are already out there on the algorithm.
And a great thing that you can do when it comes to writing copy, someone who taught me copywriting was this, is you take a script, you might run it through Claude or whatever to get the actual transcript of a winning piece of content for someone else, and actually write down that script on pen and paper. And if you repeat this process, and every time you see a winning piece of content for someone else, take the script, use your pen and paper, write it down, and repeat that process for many different ads. That is a great way to learn copy because the act of actually just writing that down, you'll learn the psychology of why they said what words they actually said. So that's one thing I have done many, many times. And even for things like product descriptions, I took my direct competitor, which was called Crafted London. Me and Phil both did this. Crafted London, we had Undeniable London, a jewellery brand, and we pretty much recreated their business when we first launched the store. Long story short, I wrote down their product descriptions on pen and paper to understand why they were actually saying it, and the act of actually doing that helped me get into their own eyes and get into their own mind, and that improved my copywriting a lot.
So basically all of you are saying the wheel has been invented, so don't invent the wheel.
Yes, until you get very good.
Yeah, and then you can start writing your own.
Not very good.
Yeah.
No, you are good. If you're until you get good enough to where you wouldn't need to ask that question because an idea just comes, or you spend time in the morning and you just know what works because you've seen so many examples of other winning pieces of content. And this is why I say even in some of the group calls to all of you guys, spend more time studying ads libraries on TikTok, on Instagram, looking at winning pieces of content and studying what makes it a great piece of content. Study the first 3 seconds. How could I apply that to my store? What have they said? What have they done? What visual elements? What colors have they used? What fonts have they used? And in the act of writing that down, repeating it over a period of time, you'll train your mind to get better and better and better and better.
Thank you very much, guys, for the answer.
Nah, all good.
Of course.
Is there a standard routine you use when you analyze data, a good video, let's say? Is there a standard routine you follow?
Yeah. So the very first thing I look at is outliers, 100%. And like I said, I'll go to a big creator, like a mid-tier creator. So in my eyes, like someone with 500K, someone with 100K. But the most important one, I would say, is someone like lower tier creator, like 1,000 followers, 500 followers, because they don't have the initial, boost of views because of their familiarity of their face to these people. Like if The Rock posts a reel, he's going to get like 1 million views regardless, right? Because he's The Rock. But a creator with 500 views doesn't have that familiarity, so no one's going to push the video. So if they're making videos that's pushing and beating their outlier with no unfair advantage, I know that that's a worthy topic to go about. So I'll try to find multiple of those. If I find multiple small creators using the same topic or same hook, I will 1,000,000% break them down. I'll get the transcript and then see if there's any commonalities between them. And then all I can do from there is test with the exact same hook, exact same clip. Then I go from there.
So what you just said is really good in my opinion, because if you remove the familiarity factor, then you are left with pure content from guys that nobody knows them, let's say, or they don't have millions of followers. So they do have a video or a product which is actually good, and when you analyze that, then you have a winning, let's say, angle to use.
Yeah, I always go for the super low, and they'll always respond to me. I'll DM them. I'll be like, oh, so what script do you use for like this video? He's got 500 followers, but he got 100,000 views on the video. I'm like, oh my God, thanks for reaching out. Like, here's the script I use. Thank you, all good. And then I'll take a bunch of those and then go make my own. But yeah.
So my wife and I are just getting started with our e-commerce brand, and the whole idea is to really document where we're sourcing and really tell the story. But I wanted to know if there's anything from like a psychological aspect that you boys are thinking about when you're creating your content. Obviously you're showing the lifestyle and that, which is great, but I understand there's more behind it than just we're living in Bali and we're healthy.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I would set like a goal that you're working towards. And then what it does is I've done a series before, like kind of what you were doing, but I was like documenting my journey towards something, right? And so you guys are documenting this journey of like you building up the e-commerce store and kind of building this online presence, right? Set a goal that you're trying to achieve and kind of set it, not unrealistic, but set it quite big. So then people are going to like buy into that psychologically, right? They're going to be like, wow, this is a huge journey. I don't know if this guy's going to actually hit this goal, but I'm bought in. I'm really like intrigued to see what they're trying to work towards, right? And that sets like framework. So then it gives you like structure in what you're posting as well. So you understand, okay, maybe every second day I'm doing a series video towards this goal. Creates good brand identity because you can like advertise, you can name the series about your clothing product that you're mentioning. And then also it just builds that psychological factor of, oh, okay, I'm gonna like buy in along the journey. And some videos will do well, some videos won't. I remember when I was doing my series video, I had one video that got me like 20,000 followers from one video when I was doing the series, because it was just a video that did well and people bought into the journey, and then they were just following me from there.
Nice, yeah, that's good advice. I also had another question. So when you said you're looking at these, say, small-time creators, how have you boys got the time for that? Are you utilising Claude to analyse people's Instagram, or how have you got the time to be?
I would, yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I would look at, like you said to me before, that you had one video that did extremely well when you were first starting out. It's probably the video that I would go look for. But on Instagram, what you can do is you can go to the Reels tab. So you know how you have the main grid, then the Reels tab. In where you press on the Reels tab icon, just tap on it and it allows you to view by most views. And then just analyze. Or you can use a tool called Sort Feed. It's a Chrome extension tool. It allows you to sort feed, S-O-R-T. Sort.
S-O-R-T.
Yeah, sort feed. It allows you to view the video by most engaged, most liked, most viewed. And then again, you're remembering that rule of like 5x the views mount. So you can really analyze the data that way. It's quite easy.
I'd also suggest cleaning up your algorithm. Like if you've got like memes or like any random thing in your algorithm that's not content that you want to see, a large part of where I get my ideas are, my feed is just extremely clean of like, okay, this is a small creator that makes a good video because that's all I like. And then when it asks if I'm interested, always interested. So all I'm seeing now on my Reels tab is just videos I can recreate rather than just things that aren't helpful. I've got a personal Instagram account for all the other stuff, but like this one's just straight video ideas.
Yeah, you could start a new account and just use that just to look for ideas, where you just follow the creators that you like and take ideas from. That's what I do sometimes.
When you say 5x the views amount, I mean 5x the followers.
So let's say, for example, their average views that they post is 1,000. And then all of a sudden, they have a 5,000 viewed video, right? Just analyze that and have a look at why that video performed well compared to the others.
But not always a trend one. Like if it's just super flashy music, text on screen, like no personal connection, they can get good views, but there's not, as much trust there. So if you're going to pick a video from someone else, don't pick one of those flashy ones. Pick one where there's talking, there's trust, there's some storytelling in there, so people are buying into them as a person. Because it's not always about views, it's about like the quality of follow-up, which we talked about earlier.
Great advice.
Yeah.
What is your both opinion again on having an enemy into content? For example, you guys travel the world, you build other people's online brands, and that's how you make money. So your enemy, without wanting to be any bad person or something, is 9 to 5 working, right? So without even saying it, it's your enemy. What is your opinion about that? And how can we identify who our enemies, so we can kind of target it without actually saying that?
I think I missed the start. Sorry, can you repeat some of the?
So what is your opinion about having an enemy and going against the enemy and going, for example, you do not work 9 to 5. You are a 21 years old guy, travels the world, building personal brands for other people. So your enemy is 9 to 5 working. You are not going to work a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Without even saying that, it's your enemy.
Yeah.
So for you, it's very easy for us to understand. So how can we understand who is our enemy? What's your opinion?
That's a good question. So obviously, like for me personally, I don't actually consider the enemy angle very often because I've documented the journey from working in 9 to 5. So there's a lot of trust built up. So I don't have that, person I'm fighting against. in your case, I feel like I wish I could give you an answer, but I would be lying. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have one, if I'm going to be completely honest with you.
I think you could really look at your... So for me personally, it's just understanding who the ideal client that you're wanting to work with is first, right? Because then you just target that pain point. So I think I switched the word enemy to like the pain. And usually the pain, like let's say for you, like with a e-com product, you got to think about how is my product going to solve the solution, or is going to be like why is someone going to purchase this and why is it better than where they currently are, right? And so that's how we kind of look at that enemy, I would say, where like I have worked a 9 to 5, so it's lived experience. So I can go and like target that person all the time. For you guys, maybe not have lived experience because it's for a product, just really break down who is going to be consuming my product. Well, it's a dog. So it's like, okay, very easy to target the owners of the dog. The dog it's their favorite animal. Okay, so if I like said that this is the most nutritious meal, then they're going to last another 10 years of life. I'm 100% buying it, you know? So think about the emotion or the person that you're targeting and really think about what the emotion they're feeling. That's how I would like target my enemy, I would say.
And also what your brand stands for. Because if you have it, and I'm not going to tell them your product in case you don't want to share it, but your product, it has values. It stands for something, you know, and that's what you're pushing. So whatever goes against the values of what your brand pushes is the pain point, but also is the enemy.
Understood, yeah. But what do you think about creating our content based on the pain point? Does this going to bring views, but good views? I don't care about having a million views. I care about having $1 million in revenue in a month. So I don't care about views. I care about the revenue. So what's your opinion about that?
I think you have to ask yourself, am I building the personal brand for my product, or am I building the personal brand for myself personally, right? So for example, let me give you some context on that. They're selling their Christian-based product, right? So they're forming and they're creating their whole like ecosystem around like Christianity and like that belief, right? So they're having people who are just only bought in for that. So then they're kind of pigeonholing themselves in this one category. They can't really go outside of that, you know? So you should ask yourself, is this brand going to be solely for this one product and one product only? Or am I going to shift in between? Am I going to go to multiple products, right? If you're going to go to multiple products, then you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't niche down in the one category and go all in on that enemy, which we don't do because we're trying to keep it open. I want to maybe sell some sunglasses one day. I might want to get a brand deal. I might want to, I don't know, sell fitness coaching. I can because people are bought into me. Where if you're going to niche down in the one category, then yeah, you can target that one kind of. All good. Cool. Any more questions? Thanks, team.
Super.